Hi, I'm Greg Grandy. I've been cleaning my gear for the next fishing trip, but come on inside. Now that you're here, I want to show you an adventure I've been saving just for you. It occurred to me that you've probably been on a field trip like this in school or maybe during a family vacation. Been to a zoo before? I've been doing a little research about zoos. It seems that ever since man's earliest encounters with animals, there's been a desire to capture them and keep them nearby. The bigger or quicker the animal, the stronger and smarter you must have been to be able to contain it. As time went by, royalty collected animals, and these showcases were called menageries. When the royals had their fill of this, they looked around and said, hey, if I get exotic pets, that will add value to my collection. So menageries got larger as exotic new animals were added. Some animals were even thought to be sacred or possess magical powers that could help their owners. Sometimes, to impress each other or for political gain, rulers would give or exchange their precious pets as gifts. Well, as time passed, revolutions toppled kings, and those animal menageries suddenly belonged to the public. That's when zoos were born. To see how zoos have evolved from these early menageries to what we see today, the Tacklebox gang and I explored some different zoos around the country. Zoo Atlanta was once called one of the worst zoos in America. When Zoo Atlanta first began, it looked the way most zoos did at the time. Animals were taken from their natural environments and placed in a cage with the barest of surroundings so that visitors had a clear view of them. Back then, this was considered state-of-the-art.
But as scientists began to study animal behavior and share their ideas,
zookeepers began to take a second look at their caged residents.
And as they began to view animals differently,
how we viewed them at the zoo changed too. Dr. Terry Maple is president and CEO of Zoo Atlanta. See if you can figure out how things have changed for today's zoo animals as you hear how Zoo Atlanta went from being one of the worst zoos in the nation to one of the best.
Well, the Zoo Atlanta story is kind of remarkable, really. It was a bottom-rung zoo, no doubt about it, one of the worst zoos in the nation. The problem was that it had been neglected for many years. There hadn't been enough resources put into the zoo. When I arrived at the zoo in 1984, it was what I would characterize as a hard environment. The animals were living in prisons, in a prison-like setting, literally hard surfaces, concrete, steel, cages. They were separated from the public in ways that made it seem as if they were in prison. Really, the animals hadn't done anything to deserve that.
What can happen to animals living in these types of conditions? Stereotyped behavior problems.
We see stereotyped behavior in zoos. Usually it's a function of deprivation, that is, the animal living a not-so-natural life. And they also were generated by very small living space. And the activities that they would normally be food-searching activities become ritualized. So you see the pacing back and forth. You can change the way animals are managed, and if you do that, you won't see as many stereotyped behaviors.
To avoid these problems, Dr. Maple and his staff made changes that benefited the zoo animals and the zoo visitors.
We wanted to enlarge the facilities. We wanted to create environments that were on the cutting edge of change. They were truly innovative. Naturalistic landscape immersion, what that means is we were trying to create environments where the animal was living in a habitat that looked like the natural habitat. It looked like a jungle or a desert, wherever the animal came from. So if the landscape immersion works, you create a continuity between the human space and the animal enclosure, almost as if they're not in an enclosure at all. The animals living in those environments do look very much like they're very close to you. The environments themselves resemble their native environments, and I think the animals do better in those environments, and they seem happier in those environments. Take the panda as an example of naturalism in the zoo. First of all, there are two pandas, so The pandas behave with each other. They interact with each other in such a way that gives you an idea of what pandas can do. They interact in an environment that's supposed to look a bit like China. It's green, there's vegetation there that looks like the local vegetation, and it's open. So you see the pandas in a landscape. We have also continuity back in the human side, which creates a landscape that people are in before they actually reach the animals. The pandas have become very important to our city. They're lovely creatures, very inspiring animals. And because our project is designed to save the panda from extinction, or at least contribute to that, it's a very noble cause.
Giving animals a habitat that makes them feel comfortable, but not so much that the people who visit them can't see them, is a challenge. Tran Asprodites is the director of the horticulturist at the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans. He works with designers, curators, and other horticulturists to provide animals some privacy in natural surroundings, but still keep them in the public eye.
Here at Audubon Zoological Garden, three of the most important features of the exhibit design process are plants, animals, and the people. The plants are, in this exhibit, live oak and palm trees. The animals are sloth, anteater, and free-ranging tamarins, and the people are our visitors. The purpose of this tree was a site for the sloth to hang out for our visitors, the people, and it was picked because of its branching structure to give the animal the ability to move within the tree easily, be visible to the public, and be comfortable. The unique thing about this exhibit is it is truly a geographically mixed exhibit, mixing animals that you would naturally see exist in a part of the world living within one exhibit. They don't actually interact. You won't see the anteater and the tamarin playing together, but they certainly cohabitate within this exhibit very well, as you can see. This is the Malayan sun bear exhibit. It's taking more than 5 years from a cooperative effort between the horticulture and the animal staff to create what you're looking at. Within our 400 acres, which is Audubon Park, every so often we'll lose a tree, and we cut them to fit and place them inside the exhibit, which gives the animal the ability, again, to climb and scratch. We can hide food in different places within the tree, and it keeps the activity of the animal up. This exhibit actually gets so lush that we'll come in and actually have to prune part of it just so that the animal can be seen. But it also gives the animal the ability to hide when he or she feels it's necessary and be real comfortable within their exhibit. Obviously, what we're looking at is a rhino exhibit. There's also marabou stork, Thompson's gazelle with their onyx as well. One of the things here in New Orleans that we certainly try and do is represent an area of the world where our animals would normally have it, as opposed to recreation. We can't recreate an African savanna. We just don't have the climate or the plant palette to support it. So what we do is represent it as best we can with the property that we have. And one of the features that we've added to this exhibit is sand pit. They tend to wallow around in that and enjoy, I guess, it scrubbing them. One of the other features is where the animals are, you've seen some overgrowth of brush. And that would naturally occur in an African plains or just on the edge of that plain.
But there's still no place like home.
Even if a zoo animal's environment looks like home, it still needs opportunities to use its cunning,
Its hunting skills,
It's curiosity and instincts.
Animal behaviorists call these activities environmental enrichment.
Hi, I'm Dan Maloney, and I'm the general curator here at the Audubon Zoo. And that means I'm in charge of the animal department, and I oversee a great team of people who care for the animals on a daily basis. One of the things that they do for the animals is they provide environmental enrichment. And environmental enrichment is anything and everything that can help challenge an animal, that gives them an opportunity to do something that's more natural for them. The boomer ball is a big, giant cat toy. You can see here it was given to the tigers only 3 days ago. I'm going to try to make a scar with my knife. And as hard as I've tried to dig in there, I've only done a slight version of what their claws can do. We look. 1, 2, 3. Tigers are big, powerful animals. They spend much of their time hunting, and when they do subdue prey, they do it in a powerful way. This is such a big ball that they really, really have to devise a strategy to get it up on the island. But that's part of the fun. That's what environmental enrichment's all about. In the wild, hunting is rarely very easy. These are two white Bengal tiger brothers, King Rex and King Zulu. Rex has his prize right now, and he and his brother will wrestle for it probably throughout most of the day.
My name is Cyndi Ratliff. I'm a keeper in the primate section here at Audubon Zoo. I take care of all the primates, different animals on different days. Today, with the orangutans, we threw them t-shirts. A lot of the different things we give to them to try and keep them stimulated and let them play throughout the day. We try and give them things that are either easily destructible or indestructible. The t-shirts are something that can't really harm them. We often give them cardboard boxes and paper bags as well. They all have different personalities. We have some that just put them on just like a regular t-shirt, one that likes to put it on and leave it almost as a blindfold, kind of roll around, do somersaults. They often get torn up into shreds, but that also they can use as almost like simulated vines that they would find out in the wild.
Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne Smith. I am the senior trainer of sea lions at the Audubon Zoo. One very important part of enrichment out here is that we use training. One thing that we do use in our training is water work. It's very nice that even though the sea lions can come out and walk around with us, we can also get into their environment. That does take a lot of trust on their part and on our part as well. Training helps us to build more of a relationship with the animals, and it helps to mentally and physically stimulate them as well.
Enrichment can take on many forms. In this case, Jean gets a chance to get out of her exhibit. She and her partner, Panya, live in an old-style WPA exhibit, and it's not real large. It's okay, but it's even more fun for Jean to get out, get a chance to meet some of our visitors, and maybe pick up a little snack along the way. She gets to munch, say hi, and get a chance to vary her day a little bit. And that's what enrichment's all about. You're a good girl.
Mealtime is another opportunity for environmental enrichment. Whenever possible, zoos keep things interesting by serving food just like Mama used to make. Mother Nature, that is. Hiding their food gives the animals a chance to hunt and forage, like they would in the wild.
Here's a Tacklebox brain teaser for you. What's called a ha-ha at the zoo? A, an orangutan. B, a laughing hyena. C, a play toy for newborns. Or D, a ditch around an exhibit. Some zoos are taking environmental enrichment to the next level. At the Islands exhibit in Kentucky's Louisville Zoo, 5 different species of animals actually move through 4 different habitats throughout the day, one after the other. Rotating animals into new surroundings, where there's a variety of new food and scents from the previous inhabitants, keeps the animal's instincts sharp and increases natural behaviors. It also makes life more exciting for visitors. You never know who you might see and where. So what is a ha-ha at a zoo? D, any ditch or moat that acts as a natural barrier between zoo animals and zoo visitors is called a ha-ha.
Zoo staffs have also learned that not all animals want to be with others like themselves. There are solitary animals which don't necessarily want a roommate, except when it's time to mate.
If an animal does give birth, zoos are finding that the need for nurseries isn't as important as it once was thought to be. Newborns tend to do better if raised in a family setting.
If medical problems arise, they're brought to a place where they can receive the best medical attention available, like this vet clinic at the New Orleans Audubon Zoo.
There's a chance some of these newborns may be part of a vanishing species. Zoos in North America have banded together to develop plans of action to help save endangered species. These species survival plans have the goal of ensuring healthy zoo populations for future generations and for the possible reintroduction of animals into the wild. At the Audubon Institute's Center for Research of Endangered Species, rare, exotic, and endangered animals are already benefiting from its work in assisted reproduction. Here, the genetic material of vanishing species is preserved in frozen zoos. Using liquid nitrogen, DNA from rare and endangered species is frozen at -384 degrees Fahrenheit and stored for future use. Embryos from endangered animals can be frozen for transfer to similar non-endangered species that can act as surrogate mothers. In the first such birth of its kind, Jazz, an African wildcat, was successfully carried to term by Cayenne, a common house cat, after his natural mother's embryo was frozen, thawed, and transferred to the non-endangered but similar species of cat. Together with natural zoos, frozen zoos are giving species at risk a fighting chance.
Zoos can provide a natural habitat for animals, but one that is basically free from predators, parasites, disease, and starvation.
But will the animals that are returned to the wild still be able to hunt, to hide, and to sense danger? That's the goal of programs like the Animal Rescue Program at SeaWorld San Diego. Aquariums, like SeaWorld, act as underwater zoos, exhibiting and caring for collections of animals that live in the sea. JJ, a gray whale calf that was rescued off the Southern California coast, stayed 14 months at the aquarium, being rehabilitated and prepared for her release back into the wild. Animal care specialists made sure JJ was able to bottom feed on her own like other gray whales and communicate. They even helped increase her vocabulary by playing whale sounds to her over and over again. Finally, her hearing was tested so she would be able to navigate and avoid predators once she was reintroduced into the Pacific Ocean.
Some zoos also practice worldwide conservation.
Bronx Zoo, for example, maintains field projects around the world where scientists study the habitats and behaviors of threatened and endangered species. They also work with local communities to help preserve the animals' natural environment.
So you see, animals in the zoo can act as ambassadors for animals in the wild. And they don't have to be exotic animals either. Many zoos in North America have begun to create exhibits for visitors that feature the animals native to that region, like this Louisiana Aquarium exhibit at the Baton Rouge Zoo. Exhibits like this at your local zoo can help you gain a better understanding and respect for wildlife in your own backyard.
Did you know that each year more people visit zoos and aquariums in North America than go to professional football, basketball, and baseball games combined? Holy mackerel!
Many zoos have programs like the Junior Zookeepers at New Orleans Audubon Zoo that gives its members an opportunity to work up close and personal with zoo animals.
Somebody tell us what you've learned by working at the zoo.
Here at the zoo, we try to keep the animals as comfortable as possible and close to the environment without blocking the view of the visitors.
There's also something called environmental enrichment, which is different activities or objects that help to spice up the routine of the animal's environment.
Observing the staff here at the zoo has opened up job opportunities I never thought about.
It also makes me think about the connection between an animal and its environment and how important it is when I hear on TV about environments being destroyed.
And most importantly, we've learned that we can change things, like changing the zoo to make it a better place for both the visitors and animals.
Okay, everybody, how about lining up for a group picture? Remember what we've learned about the new direction of zoos and find out where your local zoo is in that evolution. Goodbye, everybody. All right, everybody say wild elephant.
Wild.
Visit our Tacklebox website to learn more.